In between the lines here, where nothing is out of bounds and adversity is an opportunity to adjust and overcome. We're not at Christmas. I mean, we're not at New Year's Eve yet, Joe, but we are walking into the new year 2026. We on the verge of entering 2026. How you feeling, brother?
Ready for it. Ready for the journey. I started to think about is New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, is that overrated, brother? Is that just something we put on ourselves to try and change? And I don't have the answer right now, so I brought that up just to say, is it just another day? Will it be another Thursday? Will it be another Wednesday when New Year's Eve hit? Or are you going to really stand true to what you say, causing New Year's to hit 26? What's going to be the catchphrase for 26? 26, we in the mix? I don't know. So, Vaughn, I'm excited, though. I'm excited about the new year, what it has in store for you, for me, for our families, especially you and I have been on a journey starting about 2 or 3 months ago, becoming more intimate, becoming more relational and intentional with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So that's what I'm very, very excited for. And let alone very excited about the playoffs, college football, NFL playoffs, Super Bowl champs, college football national champs, family.
Right.
But I'm not going to get too involved in New Year's, Happy New Year's, but I will get involved in it should be a new all of us if we set our focus on Jesus Christ. And that is my goal setting up 2026 and January 1st, my brother. How
I
you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I think to answer your question, is New Year's just another day? It's in the eye of the beholder because in a
Okay.
different country it ain't they New Year's. So
Mm-hmm.
over here we might consider New Year's. I think the main thing is and why New Year's is still relevant and just not necessarily another day is most of the time when you have it may be holidays or days that people remember all the time in regards to the new year, people get the time to reflect things that could have that went well for them, what could have went better, and what you looking to improve moving forward. Now, some people it might not even last the first month, whatever they be talking about, but then others they get a fresh start. And
That's right.
like you said, so that's the only thing I would say is relevant in regards to the new year. You don't have to look back. You can start now. You ain't gotta wait until January 1st. You can start
That's
now.
my point, Vaughn. That's my point, and not necessarily a point because I love New Year. I celebrate it. I'm not going to go away from it. It's going to be when the clock hits 12:01. Happy New Year. I grew up on the eggnog, toasting eggnog. I understand New Year's service if you like to go to church. I understand all those things, but it can be done December 15th. It can be done January 15th after the New Year's. So I don't want in New Year, I mean. So I don't want Vaughn everybody to condemn themselves or feel guilty about setting something that's supposed to happen on Thursday or it's supposed to be a new you by January 31st or February and you don't live up to that and you start condemning yourself or feeling guilty that you didn't live up to a standard or to a goal that you set. You should be always reliving your goals and resetting your goals and I guess checking inventory. You shouldn't wait till just New Year's for January 1st to do those things. Well, while it is a fresh start and you can set that deadline, just try your best to hold true to it. And that's what I'm going to try to do this new year myself.
Absolutely. We're gonna get straight to it. Joe, starting off college
Ooh,
football
wee.
playoffs. We seen, of course, Oregon dominant. JMU put up a good performance, but Oregon
They did.
advanced.
They did.
We seen Alabama start off slow, but then roll on Oklahoma. Tulane didn't stand much of a chance against Ole Miss, and then Miami in a pit bull dog fight, beating Texas A&M. But now we get the rematch from the old Fiesta Bowl. How you feeling in regards to these games initially, and in regards to the top seeds that had the initial bye? Any skepticism? Think it might be any rust moving
Yeah.
forward, or what's your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, Vaughn, I must let our listeners know and let you know about my prediction being the Miami Hurricane from the ACC. That was before the playoffs started. That was my gut feeling with how Carson Beck is going to play, and that is my wish list. So I don't want you to hold it on me or hold it against me when I pick Miami to beat Ohio State. That's not going with my analyst hat. That's not going with my studying the film and expertise and who I feel has the better team. That is more so hopeful. I'm hopeful Miami will win. But on paper, with that Ohio State defense, Carson Beck is going to have to be lights out. And I say to you, Vaughn, if Carson Beck can find a way to have my prediction of Miami winning a national championship, if Carson Beck can lead those guys to a national championship, which will be winning 4 games, man, he would catapult himself probably into a first round or maybe a top 15, top five pick. And that's not saying anything less than a lot of people would know because that would be going up against a lot of good defenses, and on tomorrow night, an elite defense with the Ohio State Buckeyes. So I'm going to say that. While I'm going to say a lot of great things about Ohio State, a lot of people might look at me and say, well, Joe, I thought you picked Miami to win. Well, I did, but it's more wishful thinking than anything. And as I look down at the matchups, Vaughn, I look at, are these so-called blowouts are going to stand? Because in my opinion, 9.5 points that Ohio State is getting to beat Miami, that's a lot for a quarterfinal playoff game on a neutral site. For Indiana, man, Indiana to be 7-point favorite against the Alabama Crimson Tide, that is a big deal, man. That's on the road. That's on the road on neutral site in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl. So I'm excited for good games, and I don't have any dog in the fight with any of these games that's going to be played to move on to the semifinals. But I want to be able to watch a game in the fourth quarter, Vaughn. I want to be able to stay tuned in the fourth quarter that is not a blowout, and you can see when guys' palms get a little sweaty, vomit on the shirt already. That type of deal. Can they get in that type of deal where you have to make or have players make plays is what I want to see in these playoffs.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. And the first game that'll be up is, like I said, the rematch from the Fiesta Bowl
Okay.
years back, over 20 years ago, I think. It was it's University of Miami, and we see the two Miami homegrown phenoms, one a sophomore in Jeremiah Smith, and one of being a freshman in
Yeah.
Malachi Tony for University of Miami. They'll be playing in the Cotton Bowl at 7:30. Joe, you already picked Miami to advance and win it all. So,
Yeah.
and then of course you already know, you can tell by the brim of my hat that it ain't changing. And who I expect to win. I don't expect. I like you talked about the point spread. You spoke in regards to, like, for me, don't none of that matter at this point. It's just your team against my team. I don't care if we win by 1. I don't care if we
Oh
win
yeah.
by 10. Of course, in the eyes of those that might be,
Vegas.
yeah,
Vegas.
Vegas, and those that's betting on the game might be taking the spread or whatever the case
Right.
may be. But for me, it's just win in advance. I don't care what we got to do, because of course with Miami last week, nobody necessarily thought that they would. If you say that, hey, Miami's, I mean, they only gonna score 10 points, you think Texas A&M might bring it out? That you think they might win? But again, on the road, they advance. We picked them to advance.
Right.
Uh, I'm interested to see, is any of these teams gonna be banged up rolling into this next week. Of course, we talked about the top seeds being rested
Well,
and possibly rusty, but they should be somewhat healthy
oh
rather
yeah.
than these teams that just had to play. It wasn't identical last week, but it pretty much was almost a week ago from tomorrow.
Yeah. No. No. Absolutely, Vaughn. Ohio State, Texas Tech, Georgia, and Indiana. They should be the healthiest they've been all season from going into the season. The healthiest they have been since September, late August. But I'll go back to that Miami Ohio State matchup, and it's hard to pick, Vaughn. It's hard to pick as far as can Julian Sand, Jeremiah Smith, and those guys offensively, can they score like they need to score against a top level, high rated defense in the Miami Hurricanes as well? So the game we look at and we say, well, how's Miami and how's Carson Beck and Malachi Tony is going to fare up against the number one defense in Ohio State in the land? Caleb Downs in that front four. I think his name is Caden. It was Caden something down on the first top 15 pick on the D line for Ohio State. The cornerbacks from Ohio State are outstanding. You're talking about maybe 4 or 5 first rounders eventually on that defense. Yes, I would question how Miami is going to score. I would question, is Carson Beck going to be the Carson Beck that's projected to be a pro style quarterback? But on the flip side, how is Ohio State going to score? Matching up with Ecuador, one bookend first round pick, and then Baines, the other bookend first round
Yeah.
pick for Miami, and then a secondary that's very opportunistic. How are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? So that's why I go back and forth at a young Julian Singh quarterback in Ohio State and an older, experienced, somewhat quarterback in Carson Beck. I think they both are going to have to lean on the run game. Ohio State with Bo Jackson and,
That's
and
what I was
Carson
going. My
Beck with
answer
their
to how
plethora
he
of
was
guys.
gonna do it was exactly that. Bo Jackson, Carnell Tate, Jeremiah
Yeah,
Smith.
Cardinal take. Yep.
Jeremiah Smith, look for him. Obviously playing against his hometown. I've said it. I've said it. To everybody that's been speaking to me, look for him to go for about 220, 180 minimum. So if I'm Julian saying, don't get tight, let the ball go and let it go downfield. If you throw an interception early, which you've done the last 2 games, the difference between Michigan and obviously Indiana, I felt like in Michigan, he eventually started letting the ball go and putting the ball into the playmaker's hand. Indiana, he was holding it a little longer, not wanting to make another turnover. And that was causing us not to get the ball down the field like we needed to. So let's just lay it all in the line, go deep, and go down the field and allow our playmakers to make plays. And when in doubt, just get a ball to Bo. We don't need to get. Does it make a difference that Brian Hartline is no longer making the play calls, and now we gave it back to or Ryan Day has took the helm to be back calling plays? I mean, something that he started doing.
Yeah. Yeah, see, it would normally be a problem, Vaughn, but you can somewhat say that's Ryan Day's offense.
Right.
You can somewhat say he's that's his baby, so he knows the ins and outs. He's the head coach, and he's been calling plays, or he's called plays before, so it would be
2018.
familiar. Yeah, it would be familiar territory. And how long did he know? How long did he have to be in that role? Brian Hartline was going at least for 3 or 4 weeks now. So
Right.
yeah, I don't have a problem with Ryan Day picking back off with the play calling. He might be more creative. Who knows? Now again, now the Ryan Day we know that was calling plays as well is the Ryan Day that gets a little tight calling plays now. He's the Ryan Day that plays it closer to the vest with his play calling when it comes to big games. So I'm not saying that he will this time, but history, you would know more than I know about that. But he gets a little bit uptight or a little bit of a 3 yards in a cloud of dust type of coach when the game gets a little bigger. Play is not to lose rather than playing to win.
Yeah, but we can't judge Ryan Day based on his past experience because he's now a champion, and
Okay.
we gotta. I think that lets a lot of off of his shoulders. So I'm not as worried about Ryan Day as I am about Julian Sand and his decision making
That's a fair
moving
point.
forward. But going into it from one game to the next, we got the Orange Bowl, Capital One, sponsored by Capital One matchup on New Year's Day. Oregon versus Texas A&M. Joe, who you got? Who you like in regards to this game?
Battle of the strength, so to speak, for both teams. Oregon, highly explosive offense with Mr. Moore being a quarterback. He might be projected, or he is projected, in Mel Kiper's mock draft to be the number one player taken. He's the number one player off of Mel Kiper's top board. So the offense from Oregon, they are highly explosive. They score in a blink of an eye. And then Texas Tech. Texas Tech has a stubborn defense that's really good against the run, really good against the pass. turn you over in the blink of an eye. Um, so what's going to prevail? Now, I don't think Texas Tech, practicing this whole time they've been off, has seen the speed and practice that that Oregon is going to present to them. The fast pace, the electricity, just the route combination and route concepts that Oregon runs. So how long will it take Texas Tech to get acclimated to the speed of Oregon, to the speed of playing in a huge game like this? Let's not forget, Oregon is used to, even under Dan Lanning in the past few years, Oregon is used to playing in big games. What
Right.
about Texas Tech? Not to say they haven't played in big games, Big 12 conference championship games, but not this big stage. So I'm looking to see how they handle the big stage, handle all the outside noise and the distractions. How are they able to handle that? But I am going with a Oregon in a low scoring game. And when I say low scoring, I'm still talking about 27-21, 27-20, because I don't look at Texas Tech offense as being as explosive enough to keep up with Oregon.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Talking about Oregon has been in these big games last season, even coming off an undefeated season before they was beat in the playoffs. This is Texas Tech first time in a real, obviously, college football playoff game. And you could almost say in a meaningful game since who? Michael Crabtree.
Michael
Since Michael
Crabtree.
Crabtree.
Yes.
So I haven't
Yes.
seen much
Yes.
of Texas Tech. I know some of our listeners on YouTube been saying like, "Hey, watch this the team, this the team," but I'm going Ducks. I think they've already played Big Ten opponents. Of course, they didn't play Ohio State this year, but they've seen Indiana. Even going back last year, they was able to
Right.
play some tough opponents. I just like Oregon on the neutral site to advance. Uh,
Yeah, and Oregon looks good coming off the bus. Oregon looks good. When you think of Oregon, they're not the Oregon of our past and just explosive offense and with just speed on offense. Dan Lanning has built a defense that's big, strong, fast, and have a nasty attitude. So defensively, they'll bode well as well. Defensively, they're finally caught up to being a Big Ten type of in the trenches defense, and that's the worry. Well, that's what a lot of people worried about Oregon making the transfer or making the transition from the West Coast to the East Coast and being in the
Pac-12
Big
to the
Ten.
Big Ten. But let me ask you
Right.
this, because Oregon is going on what, at least 3 or 4 weeks without playing a game,
A full month.
compared
Yes.
to Texas Tech, Alabama, Indiana, the whole everybody else is
Yeah.
played.
Yeah.
Oregon has
Yeah.
been sitting resting, so maybe they be a little anxious. I don't think they'll be rusty, but maybe they be a little anxious. Could make some ill-advised mistakes early on. However, I just like you said, I like Lanning to get his boys on track regardless of how they may start. They may be well rested and just come out rolling. Again,
Well,
I
you
ain't
have to remember though. You have to remember that that tune up last week against James Madison was just enough.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It was just enough to be able to say we have the speed, we have the acclimation. So you're going to have to worry about the other four teams is going to be rust. Ohio State, Indiana, Texas Tech, and Georgia. There's going to be rust in that first quarter. There's going to be some jitters. There's going to be because I'm very sure, Vaughn. I'm about 95% sure that I don't think any of these teams practice tackling down to the ground. Yeah, you practice studding up and you practice those donuts where you roll and making sure guys are lunging and going through the upfield shoulder as far as tackling drills. But did those guys actually went to the ground and tackling? So look for tackling to be a little sloppy in these playoff games, and also looking for guys to be able to hold on to the ball. When you're in practice, very seldom, I know the guys be poaching and punching the peanut punch at the ball, but be very particular because when you're not going down to the ground in a long time, you forgot how it is to actually be tackled to the ground and guys fighting for the ball.
Well, that brings us to this next game. Um, we got number one in the nation,
Mm.
Indiana, and home of the Heisman winner, Mendoza, versus the Alabama Crimson Tide in the Rose Bowl. Both of them are going
Man.
west. So who do you like in regards to this? And it's another just wanted to show another slide where it shows all of the tough opponents Bama has played this year
Okay.
versus
Woo.
who Indiana has played. And I mean, I guess you can look at Oregon, who's in the playoffs. You can look at Ohio State, who obviously was what number 2 in the nation, and they Big Ten champs. Does this make a difference? Will this play a role, or what's your thoughts on this, Joe, for this high-powered playoff matchup?
Ooh wee. Ah, boy. Vaughn, this is tough, Vaughn, because now I'm going to have to put aside the name on the side of the helmet. Now I'm going to have to put aside tradition and what's supposed to happen. Caleb DeBoer is not a better coach than Kirk Cincinnati.
No, 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 no.
Ty Simpson is not a better coach, a better quarterback than for Fernando
Not at
Mendoza.
all.
Uh, Indiana's defense is much not well. Indiana's defense is better than the Crimson Tide.
I
The
would think
Crimson
so.
Tide, they're one dimensional. If it's not Ty Simpson and a falling off Ryan Williams, that I don't know what happened to Ryan Williams this season as far as his production dropping. He leads the NCAA Vaughn and drops with 10 on the season. Unheard of. It's not for a guy of his caliber. So
Right.
I'm going Indiana Vaughn. But all that being said, I'm going Indiana because of the coach, the philosophy, and the way they have gone through the Big Ten. Although they didn't play everybody in the Big Ten, I like the way they muddy it up. I like the way they get at you in the trenches. They make it tough for you. They're very disciplined. Very seldom do you see those guys beating themselves. So you're going to have to go take it from Indiana. And I think they're games. I think they're game, and I think they're ready to play 4 quarters at all costs, and it's just not a fluke. And I think not Mendoza because he just came in this year, but I think them tasting it last year and being in the playoff and having that experience is going to bode well come on New Year's Day. So I'm going to pick Indiana, and not a shocker and not an upset according to Vegas, but a lot of people would say that's an upset because of the names on the side of the helmet and on the front of the jersey.
Yeah, they've made it here. I think the fact that they got put out the way they got put out last year is going to be that chip. Because you know it's one thing from being the hunter to the hunted, but
That's
still
correct.
they can have a chip on their shoulder based on they experienced last year in the college football playoff and not going very far. So I think I like Indiana for all the reasons that you named. The better coach, the better quarterback, potentially the better defense. If not, it's not far off. I like Indiana to advance. I
Oh, they're
thought
not
Indiana,
potentially, not
yeah,
potentially.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, statistics show that. I mean, they're right behind, especially scoring defense, because I think Ohio State is giving up like 7 or 9 points a game, and Indiana's giving up like 9.5 points a game. So statistically, they're better. And Vaughn, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I say that with NIL and all that, the Jimmys and Joes probably as equal. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that Indiana has the same amount of 4 and 5 stars, but overall, I don't think even the talent gap is that big of a difference now when you talk about moving forward. We all have to like that going forward in college football.
Well, I wanted to ask, being that Alabama has been through the gauntlet, as you see, UGA beating beating Vandy, Mizzou, Tennessee, Oklahoma, UGA, Oklahoma, they fought tough 7, 8, 9 times this season
Right.
compared to Indiana in just 3. Does that play a role where Bama can say, "Hey, we done seen a team like this before, whether it be in defeat or
Yeah.
as we win." So it's not nothing that Indiana is going to be providing that Bama haven't seen. Whether we talk
That's
about
right.
UGA defense, which they gonna seen twice, or whether you're talking about somebody like Mizzou or Oklahoma, however you might want to look at it, Bama gonna seen everybody. But I just think, as you stated, Indiana just a
Yeah.
better team. I think Bama luck is running out because if they go down 17-0 against Indiana, they can go ahead and pack the bus up.
Yeah, yeah, Fat Lady will begin to sing. What I'll say, Vaughn, that it doesn't take a lot of those experience. And I hear you, and you make a great point about how many games Alabama's been in with the big boys, close games. But I'll say that it only takes a few experiences for you to have to draw back on, or for you to draw back on. And Indiana can draw back on the close barn burner they had in the Big Ten championship. They can draw back on the
Right.
defense that they faced against Oregon, which is a very good defense when they beat Oregon up. So I think those two experiences can correlate to what Alabama will bring to the table. So where they don't have many games or many opportunities to play against them, better teams like Alabama, they do have something to draw on, and I think that's going to bode well. Even when you go to the last second catch by Indiana, and
Penn
I think
State.
the catch of against Penn State, and I think that catch is going to win an ESPY later on when the ESPY awards come up. You can chalk that down as a big moment. Although
Right.
Penn State didn't turn out to be the team that the preseason had them to be, that was a big moment, a big comeback win.
What was Penn State coach name, the interim coach? Because he took over and brought them. I think they won like at least 3 or 4 games. He did a
Yeah,
good
he did a
job.
good job. He did an absolutely good job. Yes, he did.
I can't remember his name, but shout out to him for sure. And then rolling on to our final matchup. Joe knows them very well. The
Yeah.
Georgia Bulldogs versus Ole Miss. We got heard about Lane Kiffin and leaving, going to LSU, and we'll talk about that briefly. But who do you have in this matchup? Or I'll go first, and then you can state who you
Okay.
like. I like Kirby Smart. I like UGA. I'm not as impressed with UGA offense, but I know that UGA defense ain't giving up much. Ole Miss offense is looking really good. They got a lot of speed. I even remember because last time they played, that's when Pops was in the hospital. We was watching that game and they was up 10. And like in a
Mm-hmm.
blink of an eye, when I say they, Ole Miss was up 10. In a blink of an eye, UGA had gonna took the lead and never looked back. So obviously Ole Miss has the talent to be able to get it done. But I think without Lane Kiffin there, it's just they're gonna be missing some in the Sugar Bowl. I like UGA to advance to play Ohio State.
Well, Vaughn, I don't have to go, or I don't have to take very long because you said everything that I could say or wanted to say. But I'll just leave it at that. That this is where you're going to see Lane Kiffin being missed. This is where it is. I mean, it would not be missed against Tulane because you can throw it all over the lot, and it's going to take some game planning. Yeah, you're going to have to call a play and make sure you own script, third down play, whether you're going to go for it on fourth or whatnot. But the game planning, the situational play calling, when are you going to call a wrinkle? When are you going to call an exotic, a double reverse, or a flea flick, or anything that you've tried to get an advantage? When are you going to call it? Lane Kiffin is and was at Ole Miss very good at that. So the game planning to be able to be uh, riverboat gambler, so to speak. He might throw the ball on 4th and 1, might run the ball on 3rd and 11. Those are the things that Lane Kiffin bring to the table, and not to have him. I don't know what you can draw out of the first game offensively that they played that when you were talking about, because Lane Kiffin was calling that game. Will Charlie Rice Jr., the offensive coordinator now for Ole Miss, will he have the same creativity and timing of his of his plays that he calls when he goes against Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann, the defensive coordinator for the Georgia Bulldogs. So I'm with you, and I don't think this one will be particularly close. I'm going Bulldogs in a roll, double-digit victory.
Wow, we shall see. So we pretty much agreed on everybody, well, except for the big game down here. You like Miami to advance some way,
Yes.
somehow. I like Ohio
Right.
State to advance. We like Georgia to advance past Ole Miss, Indiana to get it done versus Alabama, and Oregon to keep it rolling to Texas Tech. We shall see
We
what is
shall see.
next. But let's get into a little NFL right now. Joe, we got it was an upset, some would say. 13-6. Shador did it one way or another. What do you think in regards to Shador's play to be a spoiler, and it's not spoiled just yet for Pittsburgh, but to win anytime you're playing against an AFC North opponent is impressive. So what was your thoughts on this game? We know Shador threw a horrible
Mm-hmm.
interception across the field, one of the two that was thrown, but he got his second win. So I think I'm not even sure. I think Dart got 2 wins too now at this point. What can we say?
Well, what we can say is that Shador Sanders is having fun. And what we can say is that Shador Sanders belongs in the NFL. What we can say is Shador Sanders is absolutely one of 32 starting quarterbacks that should be starting in the NFL going forward. When you look at 2026, something has to go really, really wrong for Shador Sanders to not be starting in the NFL. That's what he's showing me. And when you look at the picks, yes, he's throwing more interceptions than touchdowns. That's growing pains. That's what happens to rookies. That's what rookies do. I mean, you confuse them a little bit. They might hold the ball too long. They might have a sack that that might not see a corner blitz, or they might get out of a good check into a bad check, get a little confusion, might have the play clock run down for a 5 yard penalty. All that might happen. But is he growing? Is the team rallying around him? Cleveland's deep ball game, Cleveland's explosive passing game is showing some promise now because of Shador's accuracy, Shador's just mindset to be able to stretch the field. So I'm pleased with Shador Sanders, very pleased. And that was a huge win. So whatever you want to say about Vegas, the Raiders, okay, you were saying they played the Raiders, not a big deal. But your team, which was led by you, Shador Sanders, was at home and you beat a hungry Pittsburgh Steelers team that had a lot riding on it. That was a division clinching game that the Steelers played, and you were able to get a win running with your legs, with your mind, not making too many mistakes. Although the picks, you don't want to do that. And the only thing I would say about Shador with the picks, let's not see that again. Are you
Right.
growing and learning? But I am very, very pleased with all the rookies to be quite frank with you, Vaughn, because they are rookies. What are the expectations? We shouldn't expect rookies to do what C.J. Stroud did in his rookie season. We should not expect them to do what Daniels did last year. Those guys are anomalies.
Well, that's a great point there. And then we also, you know, we forgot to speak about last week in regards to the DK Metcalf situation.
Yeah.
For those that didn't know, of course, DK Metcalf got in a little riffraff with one of the fans. It's starting to get more stuff is starting to come out. However, being that him and his fan had some run-ins in the past, um, regardless, I don't think it was a smart decision. And obviously, they were saying that he was running the risk of voiding $40 million with this suspension. He's suspended for 2 games. So you didn't have DK Metcalf, but it didn't matter. They didn't get the win, and now doesn't look like DK is going to be playing for this final game as the Ravens is playing the Steelers this final week of the regular season. Winner of this game will take the AFC North title. I certainly want you all to comment who you think is going to win, the Steelers or the Ravens, and why. And then you may be missing DK. We also is probably missing or potentially missing Lamar Jackson because the Ravens just got a big win without Lamar Jackson, and they remembered that, hey, we got Derrick Henry. We can just feed Derrick
Yeah.
Henry
Yeah.
35 times a game and tell teams to
Right.
stop him. So, what's your
Great point.
thoughts? Should Lamar Jackson play? Is he playing? And how is DK not being on the field? Because you got another legendary quarterback, your guy, Aaron Rodgers, trying to make the playoffs. He didn't come. He didn't come to Pittsburgh to be watching another wild card. So what's your thoughts going into this, Joe?
Well, the Breakfast Club, Charlemagne the God from Mount Scorner, South Carolina, low country, about 15 miles, 15 minutes from where I grew up. He gives the donkey of the day often. And that's DK Metcalf. If you want to give a Buster Award, that's DK Metcalf. And Vaughn, a racial slur is never warranted. That's reason to retaliate on somebody. calling you out or your name or maybe talking about your family, that's off limits. That's a reason to retaliate or react to something. However, you went in that fan's domain. You left the sideline to go where that fan or was watching the game. This is not, courtside at an NBA game where the fan, you have to throw the inbound pass and the fan can touch you. This is not one of those deals. You had to go over there and make your way over there, so you were out of your element. That's on you. That's on you. They weren't right next to you. They couldn't touch you or any of that. That's completely on you, whether you appealed it to the NFL or not. And that's why I think they upheld it because, again, we don't know what was said. That's he say, she say, or he say. But at the end of the day, you went over there. If you stayed there, none of this would happen. So, Vaughn, yes, he cost those guys against Cleveland because I believe the Steelers beat Cleveland with DK Metcalf. And in my humble opinion, I think that the Baltimore Ravens beat the Steelers without DK Metcalf because they don't have a go-to wide receiver outside of him. The Baltimore Ravens play a sound defense, especially as of late. Those guys defensively have been getting better. But this is what I want guys to miss me with, Vaughn, and I'm very emphatic about this one. Very emphatic. If Lamar Jackson is healthy, he should play.
How
if
healthy?
Lamar Jackson, anywhere in the 90s. Because that is your guy. That is your go-to guy, Lamar Jackson. Tyler Huntley does not give you a better job, a better chance to win outside of Lamar Jackson. If you're going to tell me Lamar Jackson is hindered or hampered, that he cannot be himself, then yes, I will sit him down. Not bench him, not saying Huntley is the better player, but I'll sit him down because he is not able to give me the Lamar Jackson type of performance. But I will say, if you do start Lamar Jackson, to what you just said about 5 minutes ago, Vaughn, it should still be the same game plan. It should still be the same game plan that you had last week, feeding Derrick Henry. Give that guy 25 to 35 carries until he gets tired, until he taps his helmet to get a breather. Because that's what brought you there. That allows things to open up to Lamar Jackson. And we all know as many carries as Derrick Henry gets, that's when he gets stronger. That's when he gets faster. That's when the defense wears down a little bit more. So, yes, I would play Lamar Jackson if he's in the 90s. If he says that he can go, I'm going to let him go. But I'm not going to put this game or the game plan on his shoulders and say, bring us home, Lamar. I'm going to do that so much so on the shoulders of Derrick Henry. Without the shadow of a doubt. All the way to the Super Bowl, to be honest with you.
Right.
Because that's another point, though, Vaughn. That's another point. To me, and I think you would agree with this, to me, if the Baltimore Ravens get in the playoffs and Lamar Jackson could get in the 90s, 95% healthy, they would be scary. Very scary because there will be no pressure, no expectations on them. And I think that will bode a little bit better for Baltimore Ravens as far as playing from the front and playing with a lot of expectations.
I would say I don't care if Lamar Jackson is 80%. He should be starting just on the fact.
Thank you.
Just the fact that, and like you said, the game plan don't change. I'm feeding Derrick Henry. He getting at least 33 carries, period.
That's right.
He getting at least 33 carries. And you got to remember Lamar Jackson, even with injury, you got to respect his legs. So if you do a lot of quarterback options and we know he going to be handing it off, just give him a little daylight. He might shoot out of there. So it's this is a playoff game. So what are we waiting? What are we talking about? If he's 50%, then okay, I can see you rolling the dice, but, like they say, the window for a championship is so small in Baltimore, and it's almost up. And this is something else I want to roll to you or throw to you in regards to this game. Pittsburgh has pretty much had this division on lock and pretty much should have won the division weeks ago. And they just find a way to win a game, lose a game, lose a game, lose another game, win a game, just fumbling around. Mike Tomlin found himself on the other end of a winning season, so it's 21, 22 in a row. But if you bring DK Metcalf, you bring Aaron Rodgers in as your starting quarterback, you passed up on Shador, you obviously put everything in to win now.
That's right.
On the other end, you hearing rumblings of Maybe Lamar ain't happy. They Baltimore
Mm.
thinking about going a different way. They might trade Lamar. You still got Derrick Henry, John Harbaugh in the hot seat. Who would you say is more in the hot seat? Would it be Tomlin or would it be Harbaugh?
Harbaugh. It's John Harbaugh. And I would have to explain, Vaughn, because Pittsburgh, they're getting all they can get out of that roster, in my opinion. It's not a roster where you're talking about, wow, where are all the players? Look at all the players. You're saying DK Metcalf, and I know they've paid a lot, in the offseason for that defense, and Ramsey and Slay,
Yeah.
uh, uh, Patrick Queen. You have TJ Watt, who hadn't played. Is he going to play this week? It'll be a big deal. But you pretty much, and even though, Vaughn, like you said, for the last month, you had Pittsburgh winning the division while the Baltimore Ravens tried to sneak up through the back door, and it probably will slip through the Steelers' hand. It's got to be the Ravens, because the Ravens, when you're dealing with the all-world defense that was projected, when you're dealing with a two-time MVP Lamar Jackson, you're dealing with Derrick Henry in the backfield, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, all these weapons. Isaiah Likely at tight end, you don't have an excuse. Now I know Lamar Jackson has been banged up, but Lamar Jackson is 6-6 in games he's played.
Right.
6-6 in the 12 games, so they hadn't played well. And even when he was and even when they were healthy at the beginning of the season, they started off 1-5, brother. So that team, what is that excuse? So I think that the pressure is more with the expectation going into the season that was on the Baltimore Ravens, because a lot of people said, including myself, that they had the best team in the NFL on paper. And to miss the playoffs altogether, having a sub 500 record, that would be more disappointing, in my opinion, than the Steelers.
Hmm. Well, we shall see. And who you got? Who you got to advance in this game?
Well, it would be so disappointing. It would be so disappointing again for the Ravens without DK Metcalf to have
Yeah.
a life jacket thrown your way in Week 18 and not be able to capitalize. Although it's on the road in Pittsburgh, I have to go with the Ravens. Lamar Jackson or not, I don't see Aaron Rodgers and those weapons on the outside being able to score enough points.
Agreed. So going on from the AFC North to the NFC South, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing the Carolina Panthers, and we got the Atlanta Falcons who is playing New Orleans Saints. Joe, this is another one where there hasn't been a deciding factor of who's gonna win this division. Seemed like had nobody wanted to win the division. I even argued, hey, we shouldn't have losing teams with losing records making the playoffs. They need to
Yeah,
change that. But it is what it is at this point. Of course, what it is, if Carolina wins, then they advance. And then
that's right.
if Tampa Bay wins, you said they need the Falcons to beat the Saints in order for them to advance.
No, not for Tampa Bay. It's very, very weird, Vaughn, because if if the Atlanta Falcons finish 8-9 and Tampa beats the Panthers, all three teams will be 8-9. And at three-team tie at the top, there's a different scenario to go to the tiebreaker or to come up with the tiebreaker than if it's just two teams tied. So here's the deal. If the Panthers win, like you said, they are division champs outright.
Right.
If the Bucks win, they would have to have Falcons lose against the Saints for them to win outright. If the Bucks win and the Falcons win, that would mean three teams: the Bucks 8-9, Panthers 8-9, the Falcons would be 8-9, and that tiebreaker would go to the Panthers. So I don't think anybody would be sticking their chest out about playing in that division or coming out of that division with the mumble jumble, having three teams possibly being below 500. But that's just the law of the land. That's just the law of the land. And who do you trust more? I don't know what happened. I do not know what happened to Baker Mayfield, Todd Bowles, the head coach, Mike Evans, Egbuka, who was having a phenomenal rookie season. I don't know what happened to those guys. They were once 6-1, and to find themselves here, the finger's going to have to be pointed at somebody for the collapse that the Tampa Bay Bucks showed. And when you look at the Carolina Panthers, that would be a season to where they were getting a lot of experience. It'd be a season that where if you can win the division, they would be out of ahead of schedule. And then a lot of people would have to retract a lot of the things they said about Bryce Young not being able to do it as an NFL quarterback.
So the Buccaneers is on a 4-game losing streak, like we stated before, and even the Saints is on a 4-game win streak. Falcons on
Saints are playing good.
Falcons
Saints are playing
on
good.
a 3-game win streak. So you're saying if Carolina wins, they advance. They lost their last game, but if the Buccaneers win and they 8-9, then they potentially need the Falcons to win.
No, the Bucks need the Falcons to lose if they win.
Oh, but so let's say the Falcons win and the Bucks win.
Right.
Does that make the Falcons win the division?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's when it will be a 3-way tie at 8-9.
And then who wins the 3-way tie?
The Panthers. The Panthers.
So it's either gonna be the Panthers or the Buccaneers, but the Buccaneers need some help.
Absolutely.
Understood.
Yes.
Understood there.
And they would be needing help from the Saints.
Right. It's always bad when you need help from your division folks. That's what I would say. Right. One thing I wanted, because we spoke about it before, and we spoke about teams in regards to the bowl games potentially doesn't matter, or teams not caring about bowl games, turning down
Vaughn,
right
before you get into that, Vaughn, I'm going to say one more thing about the NFL and these divisions.
Mm-hmm.
The scheduling from the NFL, tremendous. The scheduling for the NFL, tremendous. To have the Baltimore Ravens playing a Division 4, and oh, by the way, all 16 games that's going on Saturday, this coming Saturday and Sunday, they're all division opponents. You're all playing somebody within your division. So that's standout in itself. And to have Pittsburgh and Baltimore coming down to winner take all, same thing in the NFC South. And when you look at the NFC West, that's where you take bragging rights from. You're looking at a 12 or a 13-3 Seattle team going against a 12-4 San Francisco 49ers team for the division. That's when you can boast on your division being very good. And then, oh, by the way, the Rams are still going to make the playoffs as well, with only losing 5 games. So you don't want to brag on somebody winning the division at 8-8 or 8-9 or 8-7, or so to speak. But you can brag on a matchup that's in Week 18 of teams that's 12-3, 13-3, and 12-4. Outstanding.
No, it's some great teams going to the playoffs, and there's some teams that's catching fire later on in the season.
At the right time,
you got other teams that's like Pittsburgh or Tampa Bay that just seem they can't get right and not sure if they want to make it. I would say this going into the playoffs right now, like I said, it's a lot rolling into it. And just going back to college, we talked about how some teams was turning down bowl games. We spoke in regards to does the bowl games even matter? I want to give a major shout out to Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg. He had the Arizona Bowl, which is his own bowl game. It's the first I've ever seen it, presented by Gin and Juice. So, Joe, is this your first time seeing somebody, of course, an entertainer with their own bowl game? Snoop has always been in football, whether it's talking about Little League or whether it's talking about, but he's the first one I've seen to say, hey, my brand big enough, and want to give a shout out to the whole organization because all of the money for this game was actually going to charity.
My goodness, Vaughn. I love it, the fact that you brought this up. And I would say bowl games matter to schools with the money. It matters to several different organizations. So don't take the bowl games away. I know a lot of people say they are meaningless. So you can have your opinion on that. But we have to give shout out to Snoop Dogg here. And I've never heard about it. I heard about it last year when he was going to start it. This is the second year. Last year was the inaugural. And this is who Snoop is. When you saw Snoop at the Olympics, participating on the sideline, being at all different type of events, equestrian, being at the track, the basketball field, basketball court, being all over the volleyball court, participating, giving his time and efforts like that, being involved and not just having his name associated with something. You spoke about the Little League, how he's involved in the community. This is who he's about. You know he's a big-time Pittsburgh Steelers fan because he's said it. He's been on Sports Center. He's an ambassador. So he's all in. And what I love about Snoop Dogg in the Arizona Bowl is he's involved. He's there. Man, I just pulled up the clip and watched when he was doing a interview during the game, and the opposing team, I think it was Miami of Ohio, kicked it through the end zone or mid end zone about 8 yards deep, and he went and caught the ball. And he went down on his knees and caught the ball, got a little dirty and caught the ball. That's all. That's who he's about. And during that interview, Vaughn, you alluded to it. It said that it's more than football. He said the money goes to teachers, students, charity, gives back to the community. That's what it's all about, man. So shout out to Snoop. He cares. And those are the people you trust with popularity. Those are the people you trust with more money, more funds to be creative and bring along people or other people and to be of service to others. And that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. Don't you know, man, that Snoop is giving all that money that's generated from the bowl game out elsewhere to his foundation, to people of need. So those are the type of things and opportunity for the players to get more exposure. That's what it's all about, Vaughn. I so applaud you for shouting out Snoop Dogg because it's very deserving. And I'm not saying nobody else is deserving, but him and his genre, him and his lane, to step out of his lane and make an impact in a different lane like this is where they're being acknowledged. No doubt about it.
We spoke about it in my group chat because it's like he obviously made an impact for a lot of NFL players that started in the Snoop Dogg League, but I just feel like this is the one up because it's like he could be comfortable and just leave it at that. You got a lot of players that's doing Little League, and which is great. But then he's like, man, how can I impact these college players? Or how can I make the brand bigger and turn this into something? And I'm glad you brought up the Olympics because he certainly was out there. You talking about somebody that Snoop Dogg is like 3, 4, 5 generations long, from grandma to great-grandpa to the grandkids know Snoop. And then even thinking in regards to he's going to be in so many different lanes, from acting to, he done reggae, always been involved in the sports, even when his son was going to UCLA, playing receiver at UCLA. I'm so great. I'm glad that you mentioned it because I do want to share this real quick. We're going to pull this up right here.
So I'm just honored to be a part of this game so I can give back. The ultimate give back. Oh, this is me. Watch out. This is me.
And he came out of his shoe. It's going down here in the doghouse. West Brother Snoop Dogg.
My bad.
You came out of your shoe right there.
Come on, man. I'm just doing it all today, baby. All right. I was in the middle of the interview with the ball. It had to get caught.
All right, so every dollar from this game going to charity.
Yeah, man. Everything is going to charity, man. We about giving it away. We don't want to hold on to it. We want to give it away to the people.
Hey, you can't make that up. I don't know what's what's more impressive, the catch, getting on that just shows the competitive spirit. He like, hey, I'm doing an interview, but this is my ball right here, and made sure not to drop it.
And he tucked the road.
That's what I was about to say. Even see him right here, he tucked it. He made sure, and he said, hey, we giving it all away, man. This is for the people right here. So certainly love that. Shout out to Snoop. I definitely just wanted to show that, and I'm glad that you mentioned it for us to go ahead and showcase that. But as we were talking, does bowl games matter, Joe? Because, I know your Yellow Jackets lost in the Pop-Tart Bowl, even being up, 14 at the half. They found a way to lose to BYU. Yeah. You had, this is
21-10-11, yeah.
21-10. But I'm glad we even mentioned this because LSU lost to Houston in their bowl game, and there was talks in regards to Lane Kiffin just came to make his TV appearance say whatever he had to say, which he spoke about how Ole Miss, how he has people on the staff at Ole Miss and they still working at LSU, so they's working both ends, and how they still getting ready to win, and he want them boys to win. But then he left in the middle of the game. Is that a big deal, or is it nothing, or is it Lane Kiffin-esque? He like the Ric Flair of college football.
There was no way that Lane Kiffin was going to be at that game and not get on TV. That's his nature, Vaughn. That's who he is. He wants some of that spotlight. He wants some of the attention to be on him. But I will say this: there's nothing he could have done as far as to impact that game. He wasn't going to be on the sideline being a cheerleader and sitting in plays and having suggestions. So he was there probably just to see how they reacted in a game type situation, introduce himself to some players, maybe even see some coaches and see how they interact on game day if he's trying to retain some of those coaches. But I'll bring up something to you, Vaughn, that I want your opinion on. Charlie Weiss Jr., who's calling the plays for Ole Miss in the bowl game or in the championship playoff game. Not championship, but in the playoff game. He's going to be at LSU. A couple of other guys that's on staff already at LSU is going to coach in the bowl game. In the championship game. What do you think their recruiting is looking like? Do you think they're being honest? Do you think they're not trying to have a little word here and there on some side talk at the bowl occurrences? They're going to be in Louisiana. That's where they're going to be in the Sugar Bowl playing Georgia. Charlie Weiss, although he's going to spend the next 4 or 5 years in LSU, is he saying something to the wide receiver about transferring after the game? Is he saying something to the offensive or defensive lineman about what's going to happen after the game or when they lose? Or is he living by the honor code? Or is he not trying to poach players? Those are the things I ask myself. Yeah, we look at Lane Kiffin, he's not poaching, but is he giving directives? Or is those coaches there among the Ole Miss players now, are they playing a fair type of game?
That's a great point. You never know with Lane Kiffin, but you can't speak in regards to his staff. You never know with Lane Kiffin. And my question that I would ask you is, when is the transfer portal closed? Because obviously they planning to win because they still can win the championship right now. Wide receivers, quarterback. And I know Ole Miss did get some more money to try and keep their boys. I've noticed that I think everybody on the offensive line for LSU has hit the portal, but this is just a negotiation tactic because now they can get more money because that's what Lane Kiffin was saying. Hey, I got so much money. I got so much money. So these guys hitting the portal like, all right, well, if you got so much money, bring me back. And if not, then you're going to have to figure out, get you a whole new line, so you got agents, you got players that's saying like, okay, well, we got $25 million annually. All right, I might have been getting this before, but now you got more money than what we had. Okay,
my God, Vaughn. My God, Vaughn. You just said a whole mouthful. Hitting the portal these days, and you're absolutely correct, could be a negotiation tactic. Yeah, could be like, hey, man, I'm underpaid. Let me go in the portal. Or let me scare you. Or let me, insinuate that I'm going into the portal to where you have to up the ante. That's the real deal. So the portal's going to open on the 2nd. That's this Friday. And who knows, any team that doesn't win on Miami and Ohio State on tomorrow night and the other 3 games on Saturday, on Thursday, the loser, what do some players do? Do they put their hat right in the portal? Do they say that, I want more money and then go to the portal? So it's going to be one of those negotiation tactics, Vaughn. I am whatever the players want at this position or at this point, because when John Sumrall can upgrade himself to Florida, when Lane Kiffin can upgrade himself to LSU from where he was at, from Ole Miss, the players can do whatever they want to do in terms of putting money in their pockets. That's where I stand. I wasn't always on that side of the fence, Vaughn, but when these coaches started just going and maneuvering the way they're maneuvering, I got to go back to be on the players' side.
Understood. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else that we may be forgetting about? Being that we started off talking about the new year, I want to close it out. I know we said we might do a whole nother episode, potentially thinking of it, but we'll just do for now. What's one lesson learned from 2025, or that you'll take on in 2026 moving forward?
Vaughn, we're going to come back to this next time we get on, and we're going to continuously come back to it. Because right now I'm at 4, and I'm going to only give you one out of the 4 I picked out. But I'm going to give you one. And this is not the number one I have, but this is one. It's number 2. My lesson that I learned in 2025 is that attitude of gratitude opens a lot of doors in your life. Having an attitude of gratitude opens up a lot of doors in your life.
That's a good one. That's a good one. For me, lesson learned. 2025 lesson learned. I would say consistency kills doubt. So regardless of how much you might be down in a certain situation, or maybe even down yourself, you can be down your business. Just by remaining consistent, that doubt is going to dissolve. That doubt will erase. It'll disappear. But you just got to stay consistent. And with so much noise, it's easy to be distracted, which again causes more doubt, causes more chaos. So for all our listeners, I think you should take these 2 lessons learned. Just for now, we're going to do another episode strictly talking about different lessons learned for 2025 rolling into 2026. But like I stated, consistency, it denies doubt and it erases doubt. And Joe, you said what?
Attitude of gratitude. The attitude of gratitude, no doubt, opens a lot of doors in your life. Doors that you might not even think could open or can open, it'll open. You start being grateful for all those things, the little things, even the big things, and other people's success. Vaughn, we're going to have to start, not necessarily specifically you and I, but as a society, we're going to have to start clapping at other people's success more. We're going to have to start getting more excited about we've seen somebody else doing well. Hey, you can have the same thing. You can get the same blessings. We need to stop hating as a society and congratulate, man, because that's when your blessings and that's when your doors of success opens up, when you're very happy and grateful for the success for others as well.
Absolutely. And I think, well, we'll get in a whole nother thing, but so often people throw in those jokes. It's a lot of hating going behind jokes. Meaning, like, you joke, you always want to joke on somebody that's doing bad or throwing it, and as much, even when we had the Sharon Moore situation, I had told you offline, like, man, I don't even know if I want to speak on him. But, obviously it was necessary because we had some learning points out of it.
That's right.
So often you just pay attention to people that's always joking. Now, if you're a comedian, that's what you do. But it's other folks that like to throw dirt or like to throw those little jabs, subtle jabs and stab shots. It's always hating going on with jokes. And they can always say, oh, I'm just joking. Don't be so sensitive. But like you said, it ain't nothing wrong with clapping for the next person because we believe in surplus. We serve a God of abundance and not one that's thinking about, we got limited value or we got limited. It's a limited amount. It's so much. It's only certain amount of supply. We got abundance, so we can clap it up for others. When somebody win an award, they earned it. They earned it. Some people was thinking that you see me wearing Ohio State hat that I was gonna hate on Indiana. No, we shake their hand. They earned it. Right. Mendoza won his Heisman. He earned it. It takes nothing away from us. It takes nothing away from the next person, the next man, the next woman. to clap it up, and that's something that we can move forward in 2026. We're going to take that lesson learned. This is In Between the Lines, and we out. We'll see y'all in 2026.